Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah, in the previous session we covered the topic of how sounds emanate and what we mean by makhraj. Also, we saw the 5 main points from where the letters of the Arabic language are articulated: the Jawf, the Halaq, the Lisan, the Shafatan and the Khayshum. Today's session will be focused on understanding how to recite the letters that use the entire hollow of the mouth and the throat area, the Jawf area. So we will start by understanding what we mean by Jawf and what are the limits of this Jawf area within the mouth and the throat. We will then see what are the letters that are emitted from this Jawf area and how to recite each of those letters, the Madd letters. Finally, we will see some important points that are necessary for us to understand in relation to the recitation of these Madd letters. I have explained previously that we have broken down the study of Tajweed into 3 main areas: the Makharij, the intrinsic characteristics, and the incidental characteristics, or the Qawaid. This series of sessions are primarily focused on the Makharij, the study which pinpoints the exact points of articulation of the Arabic letters. So we are not going to deep dive into the characteristics of each of the letters or the rules associated to them. But yes, I will certainly try to touch base on areas that are associated to the Makharij so that we get a clear understanding of how the letters are recited, keeping in mind some of those important characteristics. Once we finish our study of Makharij, we will then continue with the series which is specifically devoted to the identification and classification of characteristics or the sifat associated to each letter, inshallah. The picture that you see in front of you right now further breaks down the 5 articulation points into some more sub-areas, and this breakdown will be very useful and beneficial for us when we move on to the letters of the lisan. But for today we are going to focus specifically on this area. Now, Jawf literally means emptiness or hollow. With respect to the boundaries of the Jawf within the mouth and the throat, it is this entire hollow area colored in blue and green. We already saw in the previous session that it is an approximate articulation point, since there is no exact or specific point associated to the sound. But this entire hollow area is used when we recite the letters associated to the Jawf. There are 3 letters which emanate from the Jawf: the Alif Madd, Waaw Madd and the Yaa Madd. Now the word Madd literally means lengthening or prolonging. Very soon we are going to see what we mean by this lengthening and elongation. So let's try to understand how to recite this Alif Madd. Look at the examples given on the screen. وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. So if you just isolate the sound of Madd in the word La, you will notice that when you recite the Madd, while the sound emanates from the vocal cords, you open the mouth while the tongue is in a state of rest. So these 3 things are happening simultaneously: sound emanating from the vocal cords, the mouth being opened, and tongue being in a state of rest. You see? And take care that you don't abruptly break this sound by closing the vocal cords at the end of it. For example, saying no, this is not correct. So let the sound fade smoothly. Now from the point of view of the script, the Alif Madd is nothing but a sakin alif preceded by a fatha, but it's special in the sense that it does not have an actual indication of a sukoon sign over it. Some important points related to the Alif Madd. The Alif Madd comes in various forms, and we should know all these forms so that we can correctly identify it and recite it properly. So first of all, note that Alif is a non-connecting letter. A non-connecting letter does not mean that it will always stand on its own. No, it means that it can connect to the letter that comes before it, but it will never connect to the letter that comes after it, even if they are part of the same word. So here in this example you see وَمَنَاةَ الثَّالِثَةَ الْأُخْرَى. The word الثالثة is a single word, but the alif does not connect to the lam that comes after it. Also note the unique way in which the alif connects to the lam that comes before it, here in this word la. While in these two words, wal-ula and al-ukhra, the alif is not the alif mad, but it is acting as a chair or carrier for the letter hamza. Now this form again is very special. Here you see the hamza with the fatha is coming in between the lam and the alif. Al-akhiratu. So here the alif mad that connects to the lam is actually acting as a mad that comes after the hamza. فَلِلَّهِ الْآخِرَةُ. Now another very special form of the alif mad is the dagger alif or the alif khanjariyah. So you see this dagger alif coming on top of the waw and the ya out here, here and here, and sometimes even as a standalone. This is nothing but an alif mad, and it will be recited like a regular alif mad with no difference. وَمَنَاةَ وَالْأُولَى الْأُخْرَى لِلْإِنسَانِ مَا تَمَنَّى. Dear brothers and sisters, it is very important not to confuse the makhraj of hamza with the alif mad. So when I recite la and a, if you ignore the origin of both these sounds, what remains is actually the sound of the alif mad. So when I say la, it originates from the makhraj of lam. And when I say a, it originates from the makhraj of hamza. Now both these letters, makharij, we haven't studied. Inshallah we will be studying soon. But if you notice the sound that remains after the origin, that is characterized by three things. Sound continues to run from the vocal cords, the mouth remains open, and the tongue remains in a state of rest. And this is nothing but alif mad. Now from the script perspective, the lafzul jalala, that is the word Allah, is unique in the sense that even though there is a mad which is present within the word Allah, it is recited, but if you notice that in the script it is not written. And this is specific only for the lafzul jalala, as can be clearly seen in these verses, here, here and here. The remaining bullets that you see on the screen are advanced topics which will be covered in great detail in the coming sessions, inshallah. Let me tell you that each of these topics has detailed sessions and require in-depth explanation. I will just briefly touch upon them for now to douse your curiosity. Basically, if you analyze closely, you will realize that every alif mad is nothing but a prolonged fatha. And this is the reason for its name. Mad, lengthening, you remember? We will also learn that fathatain can change to an alif mad, and it has a special name as well. Also, alif mad is originally supposed to be recited with tarqiq, that is lightness. For example, la, ma, sa. But in some cases, under certain conditions, it can be recited with tafkhim, heaviness. Now what do we mean by tarqiq and tafkhim? These things will be covered later. For example, Allahu, and also as in وَلَضَّالِّينَ. If you notice that for some reason the alif mad was also lengthened much more than its normal length in this case. So we will learn the different types of alif mad and what are the varying levels of elongation. So for example, why we elongate the alif mad as in qaf. Lastly, in the topic of iltiqa sakinain, we will also learn that sometimes alif mad can even be dropped in recitation, just as we saw in this example. Alhamdulillah, we have covered many concepts till now, and you must be slightly surprised about the fact that there is so much detail and we are still on the first letter. Don't worry, brothers and sisters, most of these concepts will be repeated, and inshallah as you go along you will realize that the content is not difficult, but as you learn you need to also start applying these concepts. So regularly attend the live classes and bring these concepts to life in your daily recitation. Inshallah, you will soon become masters in it. Let's now have a look at the Waw Madd. What is the Waw Madd? How do we recite it? Look at the examples on the screen. Kafiruna. So this ru, this is the Waw Madd. In the same way, ta'buduna, This portion, do, is the Waaw Madd. So you will notice that when we recite the Waaw Madd, sound continues to emanate from the vocal cords. The lips are circled, and this is very important. And finally, automatically the back part of the tongue is pulled upwards, as you can see in the diagram here. How do you identify a Waaw Madd? It is every sakin Waaw that is preceded by a Dhamma. But it is unique in such a way that it does not have an actual sukoon sign over it, just like how we saw for Alif Madd. Now some important aspects related to Waaw Madd. Firstly, it is a non-connecting letter, so it connects with the letter that comes before it, but it will not connect to the letter that comes after it, even if they are in the same word. Secondly, we have another form of Waaw Madd, which is the Waaw Saghira, as can be seen on the screen here in this example. There are specific conditions which cause this Waaw Saghira to be added into the script. What are those conditions? Inshallah will be studied later in much detail. But from the recitation perspective, there is no difference between reciting a regular Waaw Madd and the Madd from Waaw Saghira. The rest of the bullets that you see on the screen are again advanced topics which we will be covering in great detail in the future inshallah, and I will just briefly brush over them. So just as we have different types of Alif Madd with varying levels of elongation, in the same way we will have different types of Waaw Madd with varying levels of elongation. For example, here it will be recited as U anfusakum. Also, we saw how the back part of the tongue is automatically pulled back when we recite the Waaw Madd. When we study Tafkhim later on, inshallah, we will see that how the raising of the tongue in Tafkhim is so different from the raising of the tongue that happens in the case of Waaw Madd. Also, we will see that Dhamma is nothing but a shortened Waaw Madd. While in case of Alif Madd, we saw that Alif can never have a vowel on its own. It can never occur as a mutaharrik letter. But Waaw can occur as a mutaharrik letter. So it can directly carry a harakah with it. So here you see, walam yulad. The first Waaw is a mutaharrik Waaw having a different makhraj, whereas the second Waaw is a Waaw Madd that emanates from the Jauf area. Look at the next example. يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ. The first Waaw is a Waaw lean having a specific sukoon sign on top of it, whereas the second Waaw here, this one is a Madd and it has no sukoon sign on top of it. So there will be sessions in which we will explain to you in great detail about the concept of lean and also the rules for elongating it, as in وَآمَنَهُم مِّنْ خَوْفٍ. Finally, just as in case of Alif Madd, even the Waaw Madd can be dropped due to joining between two sakins, as in وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Let's now look at Yaa Madd before we close the session for today. So how do we recite the Yaa Madd? If you see the examples on the screen, لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ. So here, fi, the. So in both the cases, the origin is from the makhraj of that specific letter, but what remains is the sound of the Ya Madd. So again, the three things that come into play at the same time: sound continuing to run from the vocal cords, lowering of the lower jaw, and the middle part of the tongue being pulled upwards towards the roof of the mouth. Try reciting E, and you will yourself experience that while the sound runs from the vocal cords and your mouth is opened, the middle part of the tongue is automatically raised upwards towards the roof of the mouth. Important points regarding the Ya Madd: just as we have a Waaw Saghira, we also have a Ya Saghira. No difference in the way it is recited from the regular Ya Madd, just that there are certain specific rules under which this Ya Saghira will come into play, and these rules inshallah we will study in a future class. Inshallah, in the advanced sessions we will also study about the different types of Ya Madd, what are the varying levels of elongation, as in this case fi ahsani. So why this Ya Madd is extended for more than its regular interval. Also we will see how the kasrah is nothing but a shortened Ya Madd. Just as we have a Waaw Mutaharrik, we can also have a Ya Mutaharrik. For example, in this verse we see yuwaswisu fi suduri. So the first ya is having a dhamma, you, whereas the second ya is Ya Madd and it is not having any sign on top of it. In the next example, you see the first ya is having a sukoon sign, whereas the second ya is not having a sukoon sign. So the first being a ya leen, while the second one is a Ya Madd, recited as فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. The next example shows a Ya Madd along with a Madd leen in the same verse. لِإِيلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ. All these concepts will be covered in great detail in the future sessions, inshallah. Finally, just as we learned for the previous two mudud, even the Ya Madd is dropped due to joining between two sakin letters. For example, fil hutamah. So we will see why the Ya Madd in fi was dropped because of joining between sakin letters. So dear brothers and sisters, don't get overwhelmed. Many of these concepts might be new to most of you, but as I explained, they are repetitive in nature and will get established with regular practice. If you have any queries related to any of these concepts, you can ask them in the live class, and inshallah we will try to resolve your doubts. In the next session, we will cover the makhraj of the letters that come out from the halq area. This is your brother Shadab signing off until we meet again. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.